Blessings Bakhanyiselwa. Today we are going to be further reviewing the teachings that we've covered so far, both from Credo Mutwa teachings and from Abangoma Abafihliweyo teachings. Because as I said, Credo Mutwa was a member of Abangoma Abafihliweyo. He was a member of Abakhulu Basekhemu or Abakhulu Basecemu. So for this lesson, we are looking at all of the teachings that we have covered so far. We are now putting them together and we are further exploring the mystery of the self, Idlozi, to make sure that everything we covered is clear. To study Idlozi, self-study, is the beginning of all high initiation. You must study yourself intently and you must study yourself with the kind of intensity that you would put if you were at school or trying to, accomplish a degree or finish a course or whatever. And as you study yourself little by little, you will begin to know yourself, which is the point of all high initiation. Many people make the mistake of studying Idlozi after death. They are only interested in Idlozi when it is in the afterlife. They think Idlozi begins at death and then it continues forever in the afterlife, not knowing that if you would get to understand the true nature of Idlozi, you would get to realize that Idlozi begins before death. Our life experiences shapes the Idlozi, and this shaping began from the day when we were born or conceived. So the study of Idlozi is a very worthy study indeed. It is the study of the self. On the teachings of Credo Mutwa, we spoke about the mystery of the Moya and how the Moya looks like. And we also spoke about the fact that within the Moya, we have two features which are called Rabuphilo and Ralihu, or Sompilo no Sokufa. In fact, there's another teaching which I think is the first Credo Mutwa teaching that we covered. It has to do with the boat of Ra and how this boat is also located in Botswana. You remember that? This mystery of the boat of Ra is also connected with the mysteries we have been talking about. They are part of the creation story, right, of Khemu. They say in the beginning there was the primeval ocean of Nun, and from the waters of Nun emerged Ra on a boat. And this is how they depicted this story. And we also saw the similarities between the carving in Botswana and the drawings of Khemu. So the creation story of Khemu is similar to the story of Abangoma Abafihliweyo, because they also say that the beginning of creation can be likened to a cosmic ocean. In the creation story from Indaba My Children, Bab Credo Mutwa says, "No stars were there, no sun, neither moon nor earth. Nothing existed but darkness itself, a darkness everywhere. Nothing existed but nothingness, a nothingness neither hot nor cold, dead nor alive, a nothingness far worse than nothing, and frightening in its utter nothingness." Usinasilo, ne? For how long this nothingness lasted, no one will ever know. And why there was nothing but nothing is something we must never try to learn. Nothingness had been floating for no one knows how long upon the invisible waters of time. That mighty river, with neither source nor mouth, which was, which is, and ever shall be. Then one day, or is it right to say one day, the river time desired nothingness, like a flesh and blood male beast desires his female partner. And as a result of this strange mating of time and nothingness, a most tiny, nigh invisible spark of living fire was born. So from this, we see that all these stories of creation are speaking about the same thing. It speaks of the cosmic oceans, the invisible waters of noon that existed before everything was created, and then from the waters everything emerged. Right? The Bible says, in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth. The earth was without form and void, and darkness was on the face of the deep. And the Spirit of God was hovering over the face of the waters. This is Genesis, right? The beginning of creation. And they speak of the Spirit of God hovering over the face of the waters. Which waters? Right? These are the cosmic waters that Mandlalanga talks about. The cosmic ocean, the same waters of noon that the creation story of Egypt speaks about. The same invisible waters that Credo Mutwa also talks about in his Indaba My Children. All of these creation stories are basically speaking the same thing. Credo Mutwa says the river time and Busina Silo, nothingness, mated, and then there was a spark. The Bible says God said, let there be light. In Egypt they speak of the first emergence of Ra, symbolizing the divine spark, because Ra is the light. It's the Ramazed. All these stories are basically saying the same thing. There was water, and after this water there was a spark or a light. Mandlalanga now clarifies it further by saying, from the stillness of the waters came myriads of whirlpools, which descended deeper within these waters. This means that everything is now happening inside this water, not outside the water. The light that emerged was in the waters. The mating between Busina Silo and Nako that created the spark means that the spark was within the waters. Right? When God said, let there be light, he was basically commanding the waters, and the light appeared within the waters. So creation, in other words, is inside the waters. We are currently underwater even as we speak. We are deep inside the waters of noon. When Ra emerged from the waters of noon, it was more like he jumped into the waters of noon. The best way to describe what I'm saying is through this image. It's like he is emerging from the waters, and yet at the same time he's sinking deeper into the waters. So the whole of creation emerged from the waters of noon, and yet it is submerged inside the waters of noon. Then we have the spark. This spark is not just a spark, but it is a shining sphere. It is a globe of light. This light, which is gold, is called Umoya, and it has two exclusive forces, the force of Rabuphelo and Ralihu. In the Bible, we actually just read Genesis verse 1 to 2. Let us go to verse 3. And verse 3 says, then God said, let there be light, and there was light. Verse 4, and God saw the light, and that it was good. And God divided the light from the darkness. God called the light day. This is verse 5. God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. So the evening and the morning were the first day. So when God said, let there be light, he created a spark, which was actually a sphere, right? He saw that it was good. Ne? And then within this light, he separated the light from the darkness. He called the light day and called darkness night. He might as well have called them, Rabupilu and Raliu. This is the same force that we are talking about. These are the forces of Rabupilu and Ralihu. Rabupilu is obviously day and Ralihu is obviously night. The Bible is not describing the movement of the sun to say it's today, it's tomorrow, it's the morning, it's the night, but it describes the two exclusive features of the soul: the day and the night, the blue worm and the red worm, usompilo nosokufa. The day and night that they speak of is not the day and night that is caused by the movement of the sun. That was done in verse 16, where it is said that God made two great lights, the greater light to rule the day and the lesser light to rule the night. He made the stars also. So it's clear that this verse 16 is the one that talks about the creation of the day and the night as we know it, the sun and the moon and whatnot, and the stars. Whereas the day and night in verse 5 is something entirely different. And then on the next verse, on verse 6, because that was verse 5, the Bible says, Then God said, Let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters. This confirms everything that has been said, that everything is happening inside water. We are currently residing underwater. We are in the waters that were separated from the waters. They say God created the firmament and he divided the waters from the waters, and then there's waters above the firmament and the waters below the firmament. Tina, we are currently residing within the waters beneath the firmament. Hence we said, as much as Ra emerged from the waters of noon, he was also submerged into the waters of noon. These are the same teachings and they teach the same creation story. We are basically underwater. Creation is underwater. That's it. Since we come from water and we are in water, then it is true that when we die, we go back to the waters. We being in the waters below the firmament, when we die, we ultimately go back to the waters above the firmament. This is why to this day, Edlozini, in the ancestral traditions, we are taught that when we all we are taught that we all come from water, first of all, and then when we die, we all go back to the waters. That is why we communicate with the ancestors by the waters. We cleanse the ancestors by the waters. We activate the ancestors by the waters. We do a lot of things that are connected to the ancestors by the waters because we regard the waters as a sacred place of the ancestors. Such teachings come from the fact that we know that we are underwater and we know that everything started from the cosmic waters. And so the creation story of the Bible is in alignment with the creation story of Ekhemu and the creation story of Abangoma Abafihliweyo, plus the creation story recorded in Indaba My Children by Umkhulu Credo Muthu. They all say that at first there was these waters, and after this water there was light, and this light along with the rest of creation manifested underwater. That's it. Abangoma Abafihliweyo teach us that everything began with a cosmic ocean, and on this cosmic ocean, myriads of whirlpools occurred and spiraled us into physical manifestation. Our individualized selves are these cosmic spirals. In the ocean, sea tornadoes or whirlpools are created when two opposing forces or winds come together. This is the dual nature of creation. where Ralihu and Rabuphelo come together to create light and life. When looking at this whirlpool from at the top view, it looks like this, right? You can see that it's a whirlpool, and then from the side view, this is how the whirlpool looks like. But when we represent all of this in 3D drawing, this is what the complete image actually looks like, right? This is called the torus, or the toroidal field. And basically, this is the water that manifests you into physical creation. We all come from water. We are all manifestations of water. We are all descendants of water. And we are all living inside and underwater. And this image represents exactly that. The torus field is not only bringing water in and taking it out, but it is also spinning, right? Everything has a torus field. Everything in creation has a torus field that looks exactly like this. Crystals and rocks have a torus field. Animals have a torus field, and plants have a torus field. And the special thing about plants is that they are shaped exactly like the torus field, all the way to how they function. Their design is a physical manifestation of the science of the torus field, as you can see for yourself. In this way, one can learn more about the mystery of the torus field by simply studying plants. Trees take in energy from beneath, then they transmute this energy to the above. In this way, they teach us that the torus field can actually transmute energy from higher to lower and from lower to higher, meaning energy can be transmuted into matter and matter can be transmuted into energy. This is exactly what happens inside the torus field, right? Where our energy self, our idlozi, is transmitted into physical matter, umuntu. So the abangoma abafihliweyo, when they explain physical manifestation in terms of the cosmic ocean and the mirage of whirlpools, it is but another way of describing the mysteries of the torus field. Even galaxies have a torus field, all the way to atoms. In fact, some scientists that argue that the structure of atoms doesn't exist, the structure of atoms as we know it, they say that the true structure of the atom is in toroidal form. The torus is the water, basically, that manifests all things into being, and within that structure all things are manifested. These teachings are also telling us that we are water, and we are made up of water. We are but animated water with a bit of thick mud, as the teachings say, just a bit of thick mud. Even our bodies are 70% water. Thus, the earth is more or less 70% water, I think 71%, right? Plants are made up of 70 to 95% water. Animals 50 to 80% water. As above, so below. Everything in creation is contained and made up of water. These are the waters of Nun, from which Amun-Ra, Munna, right, emerged from. The cosmic water in which creation is manifested. When the whirlpool spins, it creates a spiral twist, and this twist intertwines the forces of Ralihu and Rabuphelo. And when Rabuphelo and Ralihu are intertwined together, they are called Umbilini. The word Umbilini refers to something that is double, as in Gabili, right? And it also denotes something that is hot, as in Bila. The doubleness of Umbilini is made up of the forces of Rabophelo and Ralihu intertwined together. That is why this sign right here, the caduceus, is also connected to the winged disc, and it is also connected to Umoya. Right? The Kundalini itself is made up of two energies, the energy of Ralihu and the energy of Rabophelo. The two images, these two images, like they are the same, and they speak of the same forces, right? They are interchangeable. That is why the caduceus is the symbol of healing, and it is also used in hospitals, because hospitals are places of life and death. In the hospital, you get to witness the battle between Rabophelo and Ralihu. When you are a doctor, you are basically in the middle of this battle. When you are a healer, you are in the middle of this battle, and one can even say you become master of this sacred battle. Hence, this is a sacred symbol for healers, right? When we look back to the boat of Ra, we wouldn't be far off if we say that these two heads at the end actually represent Ralihu and Rabophelo, as much as Credo Mutwa teaches us that one represents the past and the other represents the future. And if you think about it, yes, death is the future and life is the past. By that I mean death is coming in the future, right? And life is a result of many things that have already occurred. Plus, for your future self, your present self is the past. And in truth, as much as we are in the present, we are always recollecting the now, right? And the now constantly becomes the past. So it's still the same thing. The faces of the boat of Ra do represent the forces of Ralihu and Rabophelo, because these are very ancient forces and they emerged as Ra emerged along with Ra. So this image would be a perfect description of that. Right? Credo Mutwa also talks about the battle between fire and ice. In the Egyptian story of Ra, they talk about Apep, and that soon after Ra emerged from the waters, he was attacked in his boat by Apep. And I would like us to go deeper within the mysteries of Ralihu and Rabophelo, and maybe we'll do that on a different video. We can't go into Mandlalanga's teachings without going first into this, because as I said, we must be abstract, we must be esoteric, and to say Ralihu and Rabophelo is but another way of talking, really. These things are quite deep, and the more or there is a more matured way of understanding this. Me being an initiate of the South, I have to be true to the esoteric spirit of the South. At some point, I will have to explain what I mean by that. I know. Otherwise, we have covered a lot in this video, and I hope the lessons we have been exploring are now starting to make sense to you. Because as I said, this lesson is about integrating all that we have already learned, and now bringing your understanding into completion, if we may say. So yeah, hopefully we are now able to clearly understand the teachings that we have covered so far, and I hope now that the teachings are integrated in your understanding, and you should be able to expand your teachings yourself, expand on this research, on some of the things that I've spoken about. It's quite interesting. You'll be surprised the kind of things that you'll find out there. So Bakhanyiselwa, we have come to the end of our lesson for today. I hope that the teachings are much more clearer now and your understanding of these teachings is much broader. Do join us on our next lesson. Do check out our other videos if you haven't checked them out. Do like, do subscribe, do comment. If you have any questions, you can ask. For now, we can only say Tsau.